Hi, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. We are back with Ryan of Read by Ryan on Instagram. Welcome back, Ryan.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about these books today.
It has been some time, and I don't know if you are the same way I am right now. I can't believe that one quarter of the year is already over.
I know. It's gone so fast.
It is going so fast, but we thought it'd be a good idea for Ryan and I to get together and talk about our favorite reads of the year so far. Great. Get back into the flow of recording together, Ryan.
Yes. Sounds good.
So today we're each going to talk about 3 books that we are saying so far are our favorite reads of the year. So as always, get out your pen, get out your paper, get out your Goodreads, however you keep track of your TBR. We encourage you. Ryan and I are both big independent bookstore lovers. So if you can get them there, we recommend it. Or if you're a library user, Ryan and I both, Ryan way more than I, uses his library religiously. So we know, get your books there too. So as a guest, Ryan, why don't you go ahead and start us off? What's your number? Well, let's say this. We're not putting them in like 1, 2, and 3 order. We're just sort of talking about the top 3. So what's the first book you want to talk about?
Mine are kind of chronological. So.
Me too. I think that's how I did mine too.
Yeah.
Good.
So the first book that I really liked is something that I would consider dark academia.
Oh.
So I love dark academia, especially in books. I like something set at a boarding school or at a fancy old college or something like that, and like bad things happened. Think of The Secret History by Donna Hart. I loved Dead Poet Society, the movie, when I was younger. I even like A Separate Piece, which I feel like is controversial and is a weird book, but I really liked it when I read that in high school.
Oh, okay. Now I'm excited to hear.
Well, so my first book is The Latinist by Prins. And this is a book that was published in January of this year. And it's the story of Tessa Templeton, who's a PhD candidate at Oxford University. She is studying Latin, and she is writing her thesis and preparing to get like a job teaching antiquities at some school. Well, she gets an email from an anonymous person that says, hey, your mentor, Christopher Eccles, may not be the person you think he is. He wrote this recommendation. And she opened it, and it's a scathing recommendation about her. And she expected to be given a glowing expectation. She's worked with this guy for a number of years, and he's her mentor. Like, they get along really well. And she doesn't get any calls from any other schools that she applied to, except it looks like her only resort is to stay at Oxford and teach.
Oh.
And so Christopher may have had some plans to keep her there. It's a wild book. It's about like these workplace relationships. It's about like school, but it's also like steeped with references to Latin and antiquities and stuff. Some of them I felt like I didn't know, but I also think I learned a lot. There's like a poet that's an obscure poet that Tessa makes a revelation about. And so she like is trying to maneuver this finding with keeping her mentor and her advisor out of this. So it's very tense and very I would say intellectual. So if those things are like things you'd like, then I suggest you read it.
It sounds fantastic. It's amazing to me how academia and school settings can be so intense.
Yeah. It's very much like a powder keg, and like so much is on the line because she's been studying this for years. And really, you don't have many options. Like, education and academia are like a very set path, I feel
Yeah.
like. So like if you miss a step, then you're in trouble for the rest of your career. And so that really comes through in this book.
Oh gosh, I need to get my hands on that one. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so my first book is actually very, very short, and it's Address Unknown by Katherine Kressmann Taylor. It is teeny tiny. I think it is a total of 79 pages. Okay. But it was originally published in the Story magazine in 1938. And what it is, it's Katherine Kressmann Taylor's comments to America about the dangers of Nazism, because she didn't feel that America really understood how dangerous Nazism was. So it's epistolary. It is told in letters between two men who, at the start, they are business partners at an art gallery here in the US. And one of them has returned to Germany before World War II. And the one who stayed in America is Jewish, and the one who went to Germany is not. And they have you can tell they have a very solid business relationship. They know a lot about each other. They're very lucrative. But as things go on and the war is coming and Nazis are taking power, the tone of the letters from the gentleman in Germany changed towards his business partner. And what happens I'm going to sort of just put this out there, but the Jewish business partner's sister is in Austria. And he asks his friend, his business partner, to do something to help her because he's afraid that something's going to happen to her. And we find out that he chooses not to. And the business partner in America decides to change the tone of his letters, and it gets wild. And it ends with it is like one of the most like heart-stopping, jaw-dropping endings I have ever read. And I was like, it's like 78 pages of brilliance. It is so good. So Ecco just released it as like a 50th anniversary. And it's like so tiny. I was like, what am I going to do? And so I picked it up, and I mean, yeah, it takes like an hour, but you will think about it forever. So that's Address Unknown by Katherine Kressmann Taylor. And it is so brilliant.
That sounds great. I definitely would read that.
Yeah. Oh gosh, you have to, so we can just talk about it. It's so good. It's so good. So what's your second book, Ryan?
My second book is Tell Me How to Be by Neel Patel. This is a book that was published earlier this year, or maybe at the end of last year. And it's told in two points of view. One is Akash, I think is his name, and his mother, Renu. Akash is living in LA, and he has a boyfriend that they have a strange relationship. And Akash is clearly an alcoholic. Like, you get that impression right from the beginning. And he has like a troubled life. His father passed away recently, and his mother, who lives in Illinois, has decided to move back to the UK. And leave her life in America behind, sell the house that he grew up in. So he travels back to his hometown in Illinois and spends a couple weeks with his mother and brother while they set up and move the house back. And he's not out to his parents, or he wasn't out to his parents. So there's like that tension. Renu's also keeping her own secrets. She's moving back to the UK in order to reconnect with her boyfriend, who she had a passionate affair with before she got with Akash's father. So there's a lot going on. I really liked how the different voices work together. Like, you get like Renu's point of view and then Akash's point of view. And it's just like a really good story. about this family. It's also has a lot of references to 90s R&B. Like the main character is kind of a DJ, I guess, or aspiring DJ, aspiring musician, and he's obsessed with Aaliyah and Lauryn Hill and TLC and Monica and Brandy and all those kind of stars from that era. And so that was really fun to go back to a lot of those songs that he references.
Sounds like my husband, who is also obsessed with that time period and area of music. But your review was so stunning on Instagram. I actually went and bought this book just because of that. So I have it sitting on my shelf. Did you read it, right? Have you heard anything about the audiobook? I wonder if it does anything with the music.
No, I bet they didn't want to pay for the rights.
Oh, you're right. You're probably right. But
yeah. Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool if they could.
Yeah.
I was inspired afterwards to create a playlist on Apple Music that has like the songs that were referenced in it. So if you want to see the songs, you can go to Apple Music and search for "Tell Me How to Be."
Oh, cool.
And it should come up. Yeah.
Well, that sounds fantastic too. Who doesn't love a good family drama with a bit of mystery and family secrets? So
yeah.
Cool. Well, gosh, you so far 2 books. I want to read them both. So we better stop this or I'm gonna never have time. The second book I'm going to talk about is actually my one book that hasn't come out quite yet, and that's We Do What We Do in the Dark by Michelle Hart. This comes out on May 3rd from Riverhead. And this is a book that when it arrived in the mail, I didn't even really think that I was going to love it. And I picked it up one morning. It was a Saturday morning. And before I knew it, I was 100 pages in. The language is so beautiful. This is the story of Mallory. Mallory is a freshman in college. She has just lost her mother, and she's still dealing with that loss. And she's really dealing with sort of finding herself. And she winds up becoming sort of infatuated at the gym with this older professor that's exercising in front of her. And she decides that she's going to go out of her way to meet this woman. It turns out this woman is a professor in the children lit department. She's very famous for these children's books that she produces. And they wind up having this affair. The teacher is married, and they wind up having this affair. And that relationship informs who Mallory is going to be and who she is turning into and how she sort of views the world. Now, the relationship is truncated because the professor is married, and her husband, who is out teaching at another university, is set to come home. But Mallory never gets over her infatuation with this woman. And what I love about this book is so often we've heard this story, and it always has like this tinge of guilt or this tinge of inappropriateness. And this story doesn't do this. This is about 2 women who enter this relationship wholeheartedly, and it really affects both of them. And it's just like beautifully done. It's complicated. Mallory has a lot to work through. Her relationship with her father after her mother's pass is difficult. You know, does she want to be a queer woman in the world? Does she not? And what does she want to do with her life? She doesn't even really want to know. And she always references this relationship, and they go a lot of time without seeing each other, and they sort of run into each other again. And you sort of see how we all have these relationships in our lives that form who we are as a person. And this book just does a fantastic job of pointing out that they're there. And sometimes we forget about them, but if you just take a moment, you'll see them in choices you make or decisions that, and I just thought it was beautifully written. I had never read anything by her before. I thought the relationship was complicated and interesting and totally 3-dimensional. And I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
Sounds really good. I would read that one too.
How many good books? I know. What are we going to do? I mean, you and I need to take a month off of work and just read.
I know. I wish. That would be amazing.
Okay. Bring us home. What's your third book?
Okay, so my most recently read book is Bolla. This is by Pajtim Statovci, and it's translated from the Finnish by David Hackston. This is a book that came out in the middle of 2021. He's written two other books. One is Crossing, that's gotten some amazing reviews, and the other is My Cat Yugoslavia, which I remember hearing about because I love the title.
Yeah.
I think I would read both of those books. So this book is set in Kosovo, in the late 90s, early 2000s. And it's about Arsim, who's an Albanian man living in Kosovo with a wife. And he meets and starts a passionate affair with Milos, who's a Serbian living in Kosovo and aspiring to be a doctor. And this book is kind of the chapters are not always clear, like whose voice it is. It becomes clear at the end, but it's kind of this disjointed narrative that kind of jumps in time, and you get told what the years are. So you're not lost. You know that things are different, but it's, this relationship, and that's eventually torn apart by war in Kosovo, which I didn't really know much about. I remember it from like the 90s, early 2000s, but I didn't really understand like the people involved. And a lot of the ethnic Albanians who lived in Kosovo were getting killed and persecuted. So it's not a light book. It's heavy, and it has these themes of this serpent or snake on the cover. You can see a winged serpent. That's the Bolla, and there's kind of a theme of that going through it. I really liked it. It's not a long book. It's only 200 and something pages, but it was really powerful, and things happen in it where I'm like, I need to talk about this with somebody, because like it was kind of shocking, heartbreaking. You really feel for like all of the characters involved, because they're all in like this bad situation made worse by war and then like homophobia in Kosovo. But I thought this was great. I heard about this book on Instagram from some people who expected it to be nominated for the International Booker, and it wasn't. But it was excellent, so I highly recommend it.
It sounds excellent. Ryan, what are you doing to my TBR?
I'm sorry.
I need to borrow. Yes. Just as an aside, the International Booker long list and short list this year, full of amazing, amazing books. But the short list, I think 2 of the books are over 800 pages. So that's a commitment. But tough list to get on this year. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah. Well, so my third book is probably the most famous book that we're going to talk about today. And it's because it's probably one of the most anticipated books, and it just came out. And that is Young Mungo by Douglas Stuart. Douglas Stuart, Shuggie Bain, Booker Prize winner, all of that, and really, really well known. And Ryan and I just got tickets to see Douglas Stuart in a couple weeks now, a month, I guess, here in the Bay Area. So that's super, super exciting for us. And this is his sophomore book, and I will tell you, I think it is a masterpiece. So it's the story of Mungo. He is a young Protestant Scottish boy living in Glasgow, and he is the youngest of 3 children. He's raised by a single mother. She's an alcoholic. The book starts with something has happened that has caused Mungo's mother to sort of make him go out on this journey with these 2 men she knows from AA to make him a man, because something has happened that she just doesn't want him in the house. So she sends him out with these 2 men that she knows very little about, but only knows from AA. And that starts the journey. And then the other part of the book is it flips back in time, and we learn about Mungo and his family and the lead up to the event that causes him to go out. And so part of the book is him with these two men in the wilderness. That part is, I mean, yeah. And then he meets, when he's young, the part that's sort of building up is he meets a young Catholic boy his own age, and they form a relationship. They wind up falling for each other. And his brother is sort of like the leader of the local Protestant gang who goes around this like fighting and beating up Catholic boys in the neighborhood. And his sister, who really, really wants to get out of the situation, is more or less his mother, because his mother is just not present. And he meets this boy at a little booth where he houses pigeons. This Catholic boy raises, and he steals pigeons, like he lures other people's pigeons. I didn't understand it at all, but I guess it's a thing. At this time period, people would actually collect pigeons. And it's just fascinating. And it's heartbreaking and beautiful. And in this one, I felt like Glasgow really has a presence as a city and what's going on economically, socially. Trigger warnings for sexual abuse, alcoholism, all of that kind of stuff. But it's done in such a way that it is so important to the overall narrative. And you are really, really cheering for Mungo to find a way to be happy. And yeah, tears. There's a lot that goes on that you wish could change, but by the end of it, you feel very much like it all made sense. It is brilliant. I can't say enough about it. So yeah, young Mungo, Douglas Stuart, it is fantastic. So
I can't wait to read that one. I picked that up from the local indie a few weeks ago. I don't know what the deal is with it. In the US, a number of people were able to just buy it at the bookstore, like even a month before it was like scheduled to be released.
I heard that.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on. I just walked into the bookstore and they just had a pile, and I'm like, this is supposed to be released in 2 weeks. Like, why is this here? But
our friend Sarah got a signed copy at her bookstore early.
That's right. Yeah. It's so weird. I don't know how publishing works some of the time, but
me neither. But I have to say, Ryan, we put together a fairly fantastic list of 6 books for people to read.
I think this could keep a number of people busy for the next 3 months until we release our next 3.
I know. I think they should. And you know what? If you've read any of these books, Ryan and I would love to talk to you about them in the comments. Find Ryan's playlist for
Tell Me How to Be.
Tell Me How to Be on Apple Music, if you are so able. And he has curated that for you. And these are fantastic books. Thank you, Ryan, for coming and joining me and talking about amazing books today.
Thanks for having me. It was super fun to talk about, and I have 3 new books to read.
Oh, the story of our lives, right?
Yep.
So as always, Ryan and I encourage you to read globally, shop locally, and until next time, we wish you happy reading. So bye, everyone.
Bye.